Hello, eRank. Welcome to another live eRank live with me, Pam Duffy, and her, Starla Moore. Yeah, I hope everything's okay. I started that and then it says super low signal. Wonderful.
Seems to be working on our end. If we start looking funky, you guys are responsible for letting us know.
Yep, because everything looks great and then it just doesn't on your end. Anyway, how are you, Starla?
Oh, I am good sitting today, not utilizing the fancy standing desk. So, um,
Well, you
yeah, it
do have
looks.
the comfiest looking chair. I I've got it like mine is so creaky. I need a new chair, and I have to sit still because it's going to make horrible creaky noises.
Gotta stick a sugar packet under it.
Oh no, it's the actual chair. There was a bit missing from one of the handles, so the whole thing kind of rocks. It's yeah. I just need a new chair.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump right into our Wednesday post. This week, we actually only had one question submitted early. So everybody who is here live, you guys are going to have to kind of pull the weight of this stream. You guys are responsible for asking us lots of good questions today. And if this is your first time joining us, or if you're watching the replay, make sure that you join the eRank group on Facebook. And then every Wednesday at the very top of the group wall in our group announcements, Pam will have a post one day early where you can get your questions in. That way, if you can't make it to the live streams, or if you live in a different time zone, you can still get your questions answered. So our only early bird question today is from Michelle, and she said, I have a weird question about sales and pricing. Last Christmas, Etsy ran a month-long sale and advertised it a lot, but you only got to be in it if you offered 20% off or more. I'm the only income earner in my house, and Etsy is my sole source of income. I give myself a paycheck every week. 20% off would have killed my personal paycheck. I could have gone without a paycheck for a week, but not for an entire month. So I did not join in the Christmas sale. After the month-long sale ended, I was far enough behind in ranking because the shops with the sale moved up a lot in rank due to the sales boost, and I didn't move up, that I was not able to catch up again until mid-January. So basically, the October Christmas sale killed my ranking until mid-January. How do I deal with that if I can't afford to offer these big sales? Okay, so let's backtrack here. If you can't offer a sale, you don't need to offer a sale. Not offering a sale, though, should not have affected your ranking. Don't those sale products have their own special section that Etsy creates specifically for their
Yeah,
holiday sale?
yeah, and it's generally like what they'll put like a banner at the top, or they'll put them in mail outs and things. And I think there is a section you can look for stuff on sale. But yeah, you're right. If people aren't finding them from the only way it could hurt your ranking for regular keywords is if people were searching for the regular keywords and seeing the listings that had a sale on and clicking on them instead. But it's pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
um, I
It,
honestly that it could have been some other reason why you were a bit more quiet.
Yeah, and honestly, it's really, this sounds like a case of underpricing. If you can't offer a 20% off discount, it sounds like you might be looking at your low end competitors and really trying to compete with them. Don't do that. Make sure that you're pricing at the very top of your industry by looking at your biggest, most expensive competitors and pricing somewhere near them. Because 20% off, to be perfectly honest, in terms of like discounts, isn't a lot. In fact, I believe that unless products are over $100, 15% off is about the threshold where customers start paying attention. Anything lower than 15% off, customers tend to not pay attention unless those products are over $100. So 20% off is actually pretty low in terms of how sales go. I would definitely recommend making a shift in your pricing and trying to price a little bit higher. And then, how do you deal with it? So if you can't afford to offer sales, I'm assuming that what you're asking, because you said how to, keep your competitors from ranking you out of the market. That's, again, not really how it works, but um, it sounds like you could really benefit from a social media strategy and starting that now. Like for those who are wondering, when do I start, building up my social media? You don't start marketing your holiday products to build a social media account. You start building a social media account during the summer when things are slow in order to eventually market your holiday products. And starting out, it's a lot of grunt work. You don't get a lot of engagement at first. You're posting to crickets. It takes a lot of experimentation, but right now is the best time to do that because most sellers are experiencing slow sales right now. I do have a uh, I do have a 30-day Instagram challenge that you can follow. It comes with a content planner. It tells you exactly what you should be posting every day for 30 days in order to get a jump start on your social media. And a lot of people, they just use that as their forever strategy. They don't just do it for 30 days. They actually just follow that strategy and reprint the calendar every month. And I highly recommend doing something like that for the uh, you know, upcoming holiday season, but starting now so that you can start gaining that traction. Um, you can find the Instagram challenge kit at handmadealphaacademy.com. I don't think I bought because normally I'll buy like a short, URL for those, but I don't think I ever bought a domain redirect for that. But it's at handmadealphaacademy.com and it's free. And that could get you started. But really, any social media at this point would be good, whether you're doing TikTok, whether you're doing a Pinterest strategy. I just tend to like Instagram because the barrier to entry isn't that bad.
Yeah, any social media takes a bit of time, so it's definitely worth diving in just now. I will say you don't have to have a sale for anybody. Like Etsy is constantly coming up with these things and saying, here's a sale, here's a sale. And this is their strategy. This is Etsy's strategy because it works really well for them to be able to promote and say, Etsy, some sellers on Etsy are having a sale, come and see us. And that brings buyers in. But I can give you year on year on year, that Black Friday sale has been like pushed and pushed hard, and they really make you feel like you have to do it. And I'm a grumpy tight Scot, basically. So I never do that sale. But every single year, my sales rise because the rising tide brings up all the ships. There's lots more buyers coming in. I've never been hurt because of these sales, and I've not really heard of anyone else's. So I think there's maybe something else going on here. So for anybody, don't feel bullied by Etsy saying join the sale. It's just a thing you can do. Um, and you won't necessarily get featured. Like a very small amount of people who are actually in the sale get featured. Etsy just wants to be able to pick out some shops and feature them and say this shop's got a sale on, basically. But as Starla says, with the prices, it is something worth looking into, not just for running a sale. I'm not the biggest fan of having sales as your main strategy, but where I learned it, a big a big thing was when I got into a gallery many years ago now, and they said, right, we'll take your pieces. And once you're in a retail place, they want to sell the stuff at the same price as you're selling it on Etsy, and they want their cut. They're going to take 50% or more. So that's what your pricing has to think of. If you go into a bricks and mortar store or a gallery or something like that, they're expecting to have, well, not even a markup, they're expecting to take 50%. So you should, like, I know when they said that to me and I was like sitting calculating it all in my head, I was like, yep, that just works. So if you don't have 20% wiggle room, then you probably haven't given yourself enough wiggle room. And
Yeah.
also, it's way better. Like every time I get super busy, I put my prices up and up. And what happens is you reach a point where you slow your sales down slightly, but you're still making more money. So you're doing more money for less work.
That's the
It's the
goal,
dream.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
And for anyone who's curious how to do that, just go into the keyword tool on eRank, type in a couple keywords related to what it is that you're selling. And then I know that a lot of people miss it, but under the big list of keyword ideas, where you can find related keywords, scroll all the way down And underneath that big long table, you can actually see common price points. And then just look at, some of those higher end prices. Start looking at some of the high priced products and price yourself in that top 10% of whatever your industry is. That's, and obviously you have to have good photos. You have to have, you can't package your products in newspaper and expect them to do well. You need to also maintain quality to justify the high end pricing. But there's no reason that you can't price beside some of your biggest competitors. And, a lot of times, if you have a competitor that you really like and you think that they have something really cool going on, order one of their products for yourself, just to see how it comes packaged. Maybe you buy it as a gift for somebody. It's a way to support another seller, but you can also kind of see how they are doing things. And I'm not saying, you need to copy them, but if you're packaging your products in newspaper and they have like branded tissue paper, well, maybe you're not ready for branded tissue paper yet, but maybe you could just do tissue paper. It's a good way to kind of get some new ideas.
Yeah, there's loads of ways you can up your quality without spending too much. It's the whole thing of behave like you're in that top 10% price bracket as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
One super simple thing I did when I was getting started out was one of my friends was at photography school. She was learning photography. So I paid her a little bit and she took a load of pictures for me. And that was a great help. I've heard of other people, like if they're selling clothes or stuff, they get round all their neighbours and all their friends for a big barbecue and dress everyone up. And everyone not only helps out with the photography, but then, the kids are posting it to their Instagram and stuff. And they're like getting excited when their item sells and stuff. So it's just all different things you can do that we're probably not thinking of just now.
Yeah. All right. Mabel the Woodle. Is there a way to copy a list of keywords I have saved in eRank? So technically, yes. There's kind of a roundabout way that you have to do it. You have to add them into your keyword lists, and then your keyword lists will have a listing builder where there's little buttons off to the right side of each of those keywords, and you can add them in to your listing builder at the very top right hand corner of your keyword lists. Now, this isn't when you have your pop-up open. It's when you actually click to view your list from the pop-up and you have it all, the whole page pops up and you've got all your different keyword stats. But you can actually add them into a little clipboard. Yeah, there we go. So you can do
I'm
that.
trying.
Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
I'm trying to get it the right size.
Now, I did request that Anthony add a feature where you can just basically build that clipboard as you go. So for example, if you're doing keyword research, you're just like this to my clipboard, this to my clipboard, this to my clipboard. So right while you're researching, you start saving things to a clipboard that you can just immediately copy and like paste into your Etsy tags. And I believe he's working on that. So
cool. Yeah. Sorry, I just found a new feature. Um, there we go. So that's a bit better. Yeah. So you can add them, as Starla's saying, there we go. Add to your listing builder with the little add button, and they appear up here. And then you can just copy the listings, copy the tags rather. So yeah. Look at that. We're all little below the screen now. That's a new feature.
I actually like that a lot more. That seems like the best way to.
That's handy. Yep. Right. There we go. Oh.
Ah!
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Michelle over on Facebook asked, what do you think about the shops who are continually renewing their 20% off sale? So it's basically offered year round. Isn't that illegal where you are, Pam?
I'm pretty sure. Yep. Yeah. It's revolting and illegal, and customers aren't stupid. They'll see it a couple of times and then they'll realize that's what you're doing.
Yeah. How do you feel about it? If you go to a store and you're really excited, oh, they're running a sale, and you're so excited to buy something because you caught them while they're on sale, but then like every time you go in to shop, you realize that they're on sale, and then you start getting suspicious, and then the sale doesn't mean as much. I know that you know, I'm I like Udemy, the course website, where you can buy courses. I am a course creator. My course is $1,000. I really liked Udemy because they had courses, listed for like $100. I think I saw one for like $600. And I caught them at a point where they were doing like a sale, all courses $11.99. And I was so excited about that. I'm like, wow, there's so many courses that I want to take. I'm going to, fill my cart with courses. And I did. And now I realize that wasn't something special for that day. Their courses are all $11.99. And now when I need to find a course to take, when I want to learn something, I don't go to Udemy, because I know how good can the course be if the course creator is only getting a percentage of that $11.99 cost, because obviously Udemy is going to get their cut as well. So I actually don't take Udemy courses anymore unless it's something really basic that I want to learn how to do like as quick as possible, but not perfectly. Perception dies when people realize that the products aren't actually worth the original price point. Now, if you look at a brand like, I don't know, Coach purses, and you see that one of their expensive purses has gone on sale, that is still an expensive purse. If it's like $1,000 purse and it goes on sale for $100, you're still going to tell all your friends, look at my beautiful $1,000 purse, because you're still going to value it at that price point. People will stop valuing at the original price point and stop viewing that product as being valuable if they know that it is perpetually available at a lower price point. And they will become eventually conditioned to that price. And then if you ever wanted to stop running sales, you'll stop selling. I've got plenty of brands that run sales so frequently that I only shop when their products are on sale. Bath and Body Works candles here in the US. Their candles are $26.95. I have never paid that much for one of these candles. I wait until they do their $10 sales and then I stock up on them. And I think they know that. I think that a lot of brands do that because they know they're going to make all their sales when they run sales, and they run them so frequently. But if you ever wanted to price higher, you can't. In yeah, not a good practice.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how I shop on Etsy as well. Like when you search for something, you see all of the listings there. And yeah, you might see that one at that price at 20% off. But if I really want something, I'm looking at what I'm paying. I'm not going, oh, that's 20% off, so that's better value. I'm going, what am I going to pay at this very minute in time? So if the two of them were the same price, I'll buy the one that I want, not the one that says it's 20% off. That's meaningless because I wasn't going to buy it. Different, like you say, if it's some kind of brand that you follow, that could be like a social media thing, but I still think it's scummy.
Yeah. And Michelle had said, I don't think it's legal anywhere, but people do it. So how do I compete with it? You don't. I mean, if okay, so let's think of this. Let's think of this in a naughty way. If you were, did you laugh?
Not that kind of naughty.
Okay, well, just stick with me, okay?
Okay.
All right. You bake amazing brownies, right? You have a little bakery, you bake awesome brownies. They are so good. Everybody tells you like, oh, your brownies are addictive. I love your brownies. I'm going to come here every day and get your brownies. And then a store opens up next door to you and they put drugs in their brownies, and their brownies are actually addictive. And people love their brownies too. Okay, so you want to be a good business owner and not put drugs in your brownies, right? You just want to have good brownies. You know that you're never going to be able to compete with the brownie shop that's putting actual drugs in their brownies to make them addictive. However, their target audience is going to be different. You've got like little old ladies stopping in your brownie shop before they go to church to get their brownies. And then you've got like weird, I'm pointing at Pam. I'm not meaning to point at Pam. You've got, these weird, like, I don't know, maybe like stonery type dudes going into the drug brownie shop. You have a completely different target audience. So it's not even that you're trying to compete with them. You know that you can't compete with what they're doing, but what they're doing is so schemy that you don't want to have to compete with that. So really, if the question is, how do you compete with what they're doing? You don't compete with what they're doing. You compete with them. Maybe because they put drugs in their brownies, maybe they have like a really ugly sign out front that they had, like, somebody go out there and paint sloppily on the side of the building. Maybe you have a beautiful neon sign out front that looks super designer, that makes your shop look more established and more trustworthy. Things like your branding, things like having better photos, things like having a filled out about section with photos that prove that you are the craftsman of your products, that send warm fuzzy feelings. Having better packaging than they do, so that the experience of opening your products is truly magical. Don't compete with the schemy things that other people are choosing to do. You're not going to compete, by trying to do the things that aren't right, that customers aren't going to like once they sniff onto it, because eventually customers do catch on. You want to make sure that you're building a brand with integrity. And I mean, this goes for everybody. This could go for eRank. We could get all of our data like illegally by skimming people's data without them knowing it. And sure, eRank might get more data that way, but it wouldn't make a tool with integrity, and it wouldn't build a brand that has integrity. And what you want to do is build a business with integrity. So like I said, I would recommend just making sure that everything else about your business is great. And then do a little bit of that legwork, do some of that social media marketing, making sure that, you are able to express the value of your products without having to constantly have them on sale. Because really, those sellers, they might be selling a lot, but they might not be profiting a lot. Or you could raise your prices, not constantly run sales, and still technically make more money in the long run, because you're not underpricing and also, tossing a discount on top of that.
Yeah. Well, I can't compete with stylish drugs here, but my little analogy is, she spoke about Coach handbags, and I feel these questions are just so like somebody at the design team, at the marketing team and Coach turning around and going, "Oh no, but how do we compete with these Wish and Alibaba bags?" Everyone would laugh at them. It's like, you don't. They're not your competition, and these schemy shops are not your competition. Like, how you compete from it is by stepping away from it and saying, "I'm better than that."
Yeah. Think about it like this. Look at these cheapo shops, and in every industry is going to have them, right? And there's going to be shops that sell like knockoff products and things that they just buy in bulk and resell and drop ship and yada yada. All right, think about them, and then think about how you can become the Coach handbag of whatever it is that you do. Keep in mind the type of people, we're talking about movie stars and celebrities who buy Coach handbags. What does Coach do to appeal to them? And why aren't those celebrities going to Wish to buy their handbags? Well, clearly it's quality. They want to have a piece that gives them a little bit of, authority. They want to feel good about it. They want to feel designer. They want to feel special for having paid that much money for their product and feeling good about that purchase. Which, it might not be celebrities buying your products, but it could be, somebody who cares significantly more about quality than they do about getting a crazy discount.
Yeah, that's people don't necessarily want the cheapest thing. That's a thing we all get into the mindset. I know when you start out on Etsy and it's like, it must be my prices, I'll drop my prices. I've got a weird kind of silly story, but just to show that people don't want the cheapest thing and that percent off doesn't matter. But there's a big sort of fancy whiskey shop in Glasgow, and it's got all the normal whiskies, and then it's got a special area, big wall of all the really special whiskies. You couldn't afford to buy a bottle of any of them. You just get a little shot of it. And we asked the barman one day, out of all the all the fancy whiskies, which is the best sold one? And he said it's the most expensive one, because when people are feeling fancy, they don't come in and say, which one's got a discount on? They go, I want your most expensive whiskey. And that's people people assume there's quality for the price. So if you're constantly underselling yourself, they assume a quality there as well, and it's not as good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Carla had said, hey, we rhyme. I just wanted to say thank you for the eRank basics video, Starla. I'm transitioning from Marmalade to eRank and needed that. Please keep the basic tutorials coming. So you know what's funny is I did just a super basic how to use eRank video that toured the dashboard in the keyword tool. And it was my worst performing video that I've done in a long time because it wasn't clickbaity. It wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't flashy. It wasn't special. But make sure, Carla, check out the videos here on the eRank channel. If you're a newbie to eRank, I don't do as many of those videos for that reason. They don't do as well on my channel. But Pam has been kicking butt over here on the eRank channel, going through some of the tools, common, questions that we see, and creating videos about them specifically for eRank. So definitely take a tour through the channel, especially since the videos that Pam makes, they're not very long. You could sit and, digest several of them quite quickly. And they're really condensed and right to the point.
Yep, that's what we're aiming for. And let us know if you want anybody. Let us know anything that you're wanting, because it's your ideas that I'm stealing and making videos, basically. Because me and Starla have spoke about this for so long. We assume that everybody knows everything, and we need to know what are those what you think are basic questions, because they're not basic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, Mabel the Woodle. Let's see. When the click-through rate says over 100%, what is the scale?
Yeah, that does. If you did maths, as we call it, that does seem to make not sense. So a click-through rate is for the number of people searching in the search bar on Etsy for something. Say 10 people search for a certain keyword and they're shown that search page, and then some people will go ahead and click on some listings. So if 5 of the people come and click on the listings, that's a 50% click-through rate. If all 10 of them click on the listings, that's 100%. So what's over 100%? And that is simply, sometimes people have searched for something and they click on one listing and then they click on another and another and another. So if all 10 people have clicked on 2 listings, that would be a 200% click-through rate. I hope that makes sense. I know when I first saw over 100%, I was like, that's not possible, but it is.
I didn't know that.
There we go. See, we're all learning too.
See, that's why I didn't answer that question right away. I was just like, here's a hard one. Pay them.
Oh, I thought it's just like all the nice things about psychology that Starla totally understands, and then it's here's numbers for Pam.
Pam gets numbers. All the numbers for Pam. I like to know how brains work and things like that, but numbers make me scared. Wood crafter in your pocket. That's a cute name. How do you find where your listing is ranked on Etsy? Well, let me tell you where it's not, where you can't find it. While Pam, maybe do you want to pull up the super fun new screen? Sure.
Yeah, it's going to take a few clicks.
So where you don't want to find your listing ranked on Etsy is by taking some keywords related to your listing and going to Etsy and typing them in the Etsy search bar and then seeing what page you land on. A couple of years ago, we could do that and it worked. But now Etsy adds a layer of personalization to every single user's search. And it doesn't matter if you're in an incognito tab. It doesn't matter if you're logged out. It doesn't even matter if you're using a VPN. You still have a layer of personalization. The only way to see that, the where you would land organically before that personalization was applied is with our handy dandy rank checker tool.
Oh, I am actually ranking. That's good news. I was just checking stuff going, am I going to be ranking on this? Okay, so it's in eRank because for some reason the top of the screen's cut off. It's Tools Rank Checker, or there's a few other places as well, but Rank Checker just for a one-off thing. You put in the keyword that you're wanting to see, where you're ranking for. Your shop name will be in here anyway. You could, if you're snooping on someone else, you could put in their shop name, and you can pick the location of the shop. I just leave it to all because that's the super difficult mode. And then you get a little bit of statistics about the keyword, and then eRank searches and finds where it's seeing you ranking in the Etsy API. So it's going to tell you, like, this listing is on page 2, ranked at number 79. So if you think of where everything's ranking, the person at the top on page number 1 is ranked number 1, and then it counts all the way through. And so it's telling you what page it's on and what rank position. And then you scroll down some more and you can see the other listings that are ranking. So that is just Tools Rank Checker. It's a nice, simple little tool.
And this ties nicely into Carla's next question, because Carla had asked, is it true that no one has Etsy's actual data? So yes, that is true. Other than we do have tools that rely on Etsy's API. The rank checker is one of the tools that rely on Etsy's API, where we are actually able to get that direct from Etsy. What Etsy doesn't share is what people are searching for. Now, she did ask if we relied on best guesses. No, that is not what we do. eRank purchases data from third-party sources who basically their business is collecting and distributing data. And what I love about the company that we currently work with, Anthony spent a lot of time selecting a company because he wanted to make sure that the data was ethical. Basically, it's not, you know, some weird company stealing your data without you knowing it and watching everything that you're doing. The data that we get comes in the millions and millions and millions of people who basically say that, you know, that they're okay with what, you know, having their data looked at. And because we work with data sets that are so large, we can feel confident in the fact that this data is as close to, you know, accurate as we can get. And I always say, you know, data is never inaccurate. If it's actual data, it just becomes more accurate the more that it is quantified. The more of it you have, the more precise it is. And the benefit of eRank in particular is that we have so much data compared to, you know, there are a lot of tools that pop up out of nowhere. And when we look at how much money goes into purchasing data, like brand new house every single month expensive, I can feel confident in saying that eRank likely has more data than a lot of these little pop-up SEO companies that we're seeing, just because, I mean, unless they're taking out some crazy loans to be able to get that data, we have more users than everybody else. We are the most popular Etsy SEO tool, and we put that money into the data. That's why we constantly have, you know, new little platforms that'll pop up. Like, for example, we have Redbubble data now. And what else did we add? We added a couple other marketplaces.
Oh, I can't remember just now, but yeah, there is basically all these platforms. We have the data for so many of them. A lot of them we're just not sharing just now because they're too small. There's not enough data for us to share. So people ask, can you get the data for this little site that no one's heard of? It's like, yeah, we've probably got it, but there's no point like sharing it just now because it's so little data that it's kind of inaccurate.
Yeah.
So,
And Carla had also said
less accurate.
when sellers do research and use the Etsy search bar, we basically inflate the customer search numbers. Technically, yes, but not in a quantity that I think is going to be so significant that it's going to impact the average, basically. Yes, you will be looped into the pool of millions of other people who are searching. There's no way to say, oh, this is a seller, so we have to sort them out. Not to mention sellers can also be buyers on Etsy. I don't know any Etsy sellers who don't also shop on Etsy. It's like, you know, you're a part of this community, and Etsy kind of stays top of mind, I think, for most sellers. There's no way
I
to
should
filter
shop more.
yeah. There's no way to filter those people.
Oh, and we've lost to Starla. I just wanted to, she'll be back in a minute, no doubt. I just wanted to add as well, when we're saying this is data from big companies, this is the industry standard. We're talking, this is how historically people have got TV viewing numbers, radio viewing numbers, all of this kind of great thing. It sounds a bit weird, but this is totally how is normal. I've totally lost where we are in the question. So if I read one that we've already had, because Starla is, oh, I think she's coming back. Let me see. I think we've got her again. 3, 2, 1. Might be Starla. Yes, it's Starla.
I don't know what happens. It just does that out of nowhere. Nothing happens. I
Yeah,
don't click anything. I just disappear. But yes,
technology.
what Pam said, this is how it's always been. It's just now you're a part of it. You know, when we were all sitting around, what was it? The Nelson boxes? Is that what they were?
Yeah, Nelson families, yes.
Yeah, you know, the Nelson families that would get, you know, it would watch what they're watching on TV to be able to check things like viewership. We know what that is, and that makes sense to us. But now when you're actually selling as a business and you realize what goes into it, you start to realize how, wow, this has been around for a long time. This is not some new thing. This has been the standard forever. And every single website that you see likely utilizes some type of data that's similar in order to kind of you know, look at traffic patterns and identify what's popular with people.
Yeah, places should tell you where they're getting their data. I'm going to say they can't tell you exactly where, but like if you look on eRank, in a lot of places we do say that this data comes from third parties, from people who've opted in. I can't remember the exact wording, but we do actually tell you.
I think.
Yeah. So, you know, you can always check and see, and if you're not sure, because I've had a lot of people have been talking and saying, oh, these companies just guess and stuff. And like in general, no, we don't just guess. A lot of stuff comes from the Etsy API. A lot of stuff comes from our third party. We have a small amount of data that we're working on that comes from sort of algorithms that Anthony's working on, that's taking in all the data that we have, but it's not guessing. It's it's a sensible computer going, on average, this is what we think, sort of thing.
Based on other data that we have.
Exactly. Yes.
It's making vegetable soup with the vegetables that we already have cut up. Basically, we have the vegetables, and sometimes our tools are the magical Frankenstein that Anthony has created with all of the vegetables.
Yep.
All right. Adam asked, is there a good way I can get the baseline numbers on the keyword tool? So as an example, I'm searching for peppermill, but most of the tags have fewer than 150 UK searches, which seems low. I can't tell whether the listing I'm trying to put out there aren't in proper demand, or if I'm doing something else wrong with keyword research. Well, if you're shipping, I would not only focus on UK data, even if you are in the UK. Most shoppers are in the US, so data is going to be accurate for the US. And pepper mills aren't something special that we don't buy here. They're not a UK. Maybe what are your if you are selling Christmas crackers, which aren't something that we really do in the US, maybe that would be something that you would want to focus just strictly on UK data.
Yeah, but you can totally look at, this is annoying. You can totally look at the USA data, which I do, and then when you look at the pie chart, you can see, well, that's about a quarter for the UK, so it's not bad. But yeah, if you're trying to see if they aren't in proper demand, one little trick you can see, I have to check I'm looking at the right thing. So saying I did look at the UK, we do have the UK data, so let's use that. So yes, it's low volume. It does seem to have peaks and troughs, but one thing, wait for this to load up. So you can see the difference here, actually. This data comes in really quickly because it comes from our third party. The stuff that took a little while here, we're getting this directly from Etsy. So for the top 100 listings analyzed from this, you can look and see like what's their average daily views, how many views have they got. And I would say for Peppermill, we on average, sort of one average daily view a day is kind of normal. So Peppermill is probably a little lower. It's not saying there isn't a demand, but I maybe wouldn't base my entire shop around it. Or, look at what other things are people looking for, like
Cutting
kitchenware.
boards. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So look at what else is popular and also use that with the kind of tags and stuff that you're looking for as well. They might not be searching for salt and pepper, whatever you call them, but are yours in the shape of an elephant or something else that's trending? It can be like kitsch gifts for gran or something. So there's other ways, but yeah, I would say that Peppermills don't look like you're going to be a million sales shop, basically.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
Diversify a
mean
little
that
bit.
people don't want them.
All right. Mabel the Woodle, Etsy Up is next week. This will be my first one to watch. Is this something that they do every year? What is it? And then Pam, I loved your video you did on the Etsy quarterly report. So Pam, you know more about, is Etsy Up the one that, no, you're Etsy U.
I did Etsy U, and I can't even remember what I am now. But yes, I'm not Etsy Up. That they did the first one of that last year, and I think if you're new, it's definitely worth watching. Both me and Starla got excited, tried to watch it, got very bored.
The
To be
holiday one.
perfectly honest,
Yeah.
I think it's awesome they're doing this. And what Josh said in the quarterly report, which you'll have seen, and it is quite right, they're trying to they're training the AI to understand what buyers are really liking, and they're learning from that, and they're wanting to come back and teach us how to make the things that buyers are really liking. So that's the whole point of this kind of education thing, because if all the front pages and search on Etsy are filled with stuff that customers really like, then Etsy makes more money too. So it's really cool they're doing this. I'm going to give it a watch. It definitely seemed a little bit basic last year, but I can't complain because the Etsy thing that I did, that I can't remember the name of it just now, but I was presenting for them on that, and I was supposed to be doing a deep dive on SEO, and I started off talking and the chat went, "What is SEO?" Like 1,000 people asked, "What is SEO?" And I was like, "Oh, we're being that basic, are we?" Okay. So
Yeah. So, I mean, tune in, turn it on as some background noise. If something stands out to you, which is all Pam and I do, we turn these things on just to kind of listen to see if anything interesting pops up. But the fact that you're here and that you watch YouTube videos, you watch my videos, Pam's videos, don't expect anything new and revolutionary that you've never heard of. That's my impression of the one that they did for the holidays. I didn't learn anything like at all.
yeah. The only thing, I hope, it could be like the quarterly report, you might hear some nuggets that are changing, that are happening, something
Mhm.
that's just happened. So it's well worth keeping an eye on these things. But yeah, it's likely it's taking people from the level, because most people, that everybody here is in, you might not feel like it, but you're in a higher group. You're in a group of people who are actually educating yourself. Most people have no clue. So they're taking everybody from this bottom level and they're trying to bring them up a wee bit. So you're probably above that level already. But yeah, it's definitely, do some crafting, do something else, have it on in the background, but comb the dog, groom the dog on the day, and then it can be on in the background, and then occasionally you might be like, "Oh, that's different."
Yeah.
I wasn't. I'll sign up and I'll take notes. Okay, if anything happens, I'll let you know.
Yeah, that if you don't want to watch it or if you can't, if anything is important that gets covered, Pam and I will definitely end up talking about it. So,
yeah.
all right. Carla asked, if sellers are listing copyright/trademark infringement products and use those keywords, how are they not flagged or even able to use the keywords? Is there no forbidden or blocked keywords on Etsy? There are, but not the right ones. If you sell anything with amber jewelry, for example, the word amber, even if your name is Amber, you're listing a pillow that is amber colored due to choking hazards for children, from parents doing amber teething necklaces, amber immediately gets outlawed because I believe a child died. So Etsy immediately jumped on that. I think that the issue with copyright phrases on Etsy is that, yes, the IP holders, the owners of that intellectual property, we'll say Disney, for example, maybe they go through and they identify a bunch of listings that have Mickey Mouse on them. And, they go through Etsy's new reporting portal and find all the Mickey Mouse listings and, report them. There is that. However, I think that there's a little bit of incongruency that can affect this, the no words, simply because I believe, and don't quote me on this, please, but I believe that if you were selling a vintage mug that you bought at Disneyland and it had like it was a Disneyland vintage mug that was originally from Disneyland, and you were to resell that, I believe you could do that in the vintage category on Etsy,
Yeah.
which is why the keywords can't necessarily be flagged. Now, obviously, we know that people are breaking the rules, but there's also probably, that weird guy that's selling the drug brownies, not Pam, but pointing at Pam, the weird drug brownie guy. He's doing that illegally too, but it doesn't mean that you should do it. You've got people who drive down the street breaking traffic laws. Doesn't mean it's legal, doesn't mean that they're not going to get caught, and it doesn't mean that it's okay for you to do it. So my biggest piece of advice is to roll your eyes at these trademark infringing people and just ignore them, because they do get taken down all the time. I know it doesn't seem like it because you see so many, but as somebody who creates videos on it, my comments are filled with people who are like, my shop got shut down. My shop got shut down. Well, yeah, you dummy. Of course it did.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I literally have just done a video on this, and it links back to one of Starla's videos. So watch mine, then watch Starla's, because that's really good for the algorithm. But basically, Etsy at the minute, the law, not just for Etsy, for all these platforms, is they let us post our listings, whatever they are. And then it's up to the copyright holder, the IP holder, to come along and say to Etsy, that's mine, take it down. And then it's Etsy's job to take it down. It's not Etsy's job to police it. Etsy doesn't have to police it. Which I know sounds terrible, but like Starla says, absolutely, you can sell a vintage Disney mug, or anything like that, just so long as it's actually the real Disney mug. That is perfectly okay. So there are no forbidden words. And also the way that trademark law works is Etsy can't say you can't sell this because it's a legal matter. So what really happens, the IP takedown thing, is Disney will come along and say, take that thing down. And if you have your nice little Disney item and you're trying to sell it and you think, no, that's fair use, I can sell that, you dispute it, you put your listing back up. The next thing that happens is, like, Etsy can't do anything about that. You put that up, it's up to Disney to say, right, let's go to court then. And that's the only way you can actually find out if you can legally sell the item, is a judge has to decide for you. So yeah, that's why they're up, because it's a complicated legal thing that it's not Etsy's job to deal with. But if you look, like 9 times out of 10, when you do a search for any of these Etsy keywords, it seems like there's a load, but there actually isn't. And those numbers are constantly, they'll build up and then a big drop in the number of listings, because Disney's gone round and gone, bye bye, and we'll have you, and we'll have you, and just booted a load of them out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not Etsy's job to block the keywords.
And Carla had asked, does eRank have any plans for flagging keywords, or will that be impossible? That will be impossible, because not only would it be Disney related terms that we would have to flag. I mean, we do have a big orange copyright like notice banner at the top of the screen warning you to, be careful. But when it comes to copyright, trademark, trademark terms and eRank in particular, they change all the time. And there's no way that we could in real time be able to feed you that, because for one, it would be a liability on us. What if, one day you create a product because we say it's okay, but then the next day it's not okay? There's no way to have that coming in real time, especially when trademark licensing changes constantly. And as Johnny had said, there are people with actual license to sell it as well. So an auto ban could stop legitimate sellers. There, we do have,
Yeah.
our licensed sellers, not for Disney, because you'd have to have millions of dollars to be able to license, with Disney. But I've used the author Sarah Maas as an example. She licenses with small businesses, and you can get a license to sell from her. But if you're caught without a license, her publishers, I'm assuming, are going to be the ones to come after you. So there are ways to do things legally. It's just you can't choose things like Disney or the NFL as your targets. You have to kind of be selective and work with smaller companies that allow you to do so.
Yeah. The simple rule that we say just about every week is if you didn't create it, you can't sell it unless the person who did create it gives you permission.
Mhm.
And even like, yeah, some people have to like register their trademark or whatever, but everything that somebody creates is automatically copyrighted. I walked in the woods today and I
Oh
took
no.
some pictures of the woods. They're copyrighted to me. They're my pictures. Oh, you okay?
Yeah, you froze for just a second, but it
Oh, right. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I've while we've been talking, I've doodled a scribble on my piece of paper. I'm not gonna show you it, but I've doodled a thing. That's copyright to me. You can't take that and put that on your listings. But there's no way, unfortunately, that eRank could know about that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Um, my I have a book that I wrote and published, and I can technically go pay for the copyright on that, which will help me a little bit in court if I ever had to sue somebody, because it would just immediately dismiss the case. Um, but I can still prove without a doubt that I am the author of this book. If somebody were to attempt to create like merch based on my book, I could still send them a cease and desist. I do own the copyright because I wrote it and I can prove that I wrote it. If I wanted to, make it easier to prove that I wrote it, then I could go pay for that copyright, but it's not necessary because I can prove that I wrote it. Like Pam said, she's got photos that she took. And if she can prove, that I took these by having them on her phone, then yes, they're her photos. So yeah, just avoid
yeah.
things that you didn't do, um,
I
because it
know it's
doesn't.
more difficult with phrases and things,
Yeah,
but at the same time, if it's a common phrase, then it's probably trademarked.
yeah, and I mean, it's not like, okay, so for example, like the phrase "wifey," I know is trademarked. Wifey. If you created a product that said "wifey" on it, it's not like you're going to get sued for listing that product immediately. That's not what's going to happen. You're going to have the company reach out and say, don't do that anymore. Or Etsy will deactivate it and say, you can't list this. And then you just say, okay, I can't list that. It's very unlikely that you're going to have a company like jump up and immediately go after you. But for example, with that couple that I made my video on a couple months ago, Disney told them to stop selling Disney themed products. And so they changed the name of their business and continued selling Disney themed products. And Disney told them, multiple times to stop, and they didn't. So Disney sued them.
Yeah. People are actually, what my thumbnail says from this week, people are stupid. I just I didn't it was just in the background passing, but someone said, Etsy was not Etsy, Disney was going after someone for selling stuff. So he went to Disneyland to make his video to complain about it. Now
Yes.
he's banned from all Disneylands as well. Just like, how stupid are you?
Was that the same guy? I know that the guy that I talked about in my video was immediately like went to Disney afterwards and was taking pictures of the product at Disney, like taking photos, product photos.
Yeah, it's probably the same, or there could well be more than one, but it's probably the same thing. It's just like, don't draw attention. If you've done something wrong, put your hand up and go, I'm really sorry. It's like if the police pull you over for going a little bit too fast, you go, I'm really sorry, Mr. Policeman, I won't do it again. And then you don't immediately floor it and drive off at 100. You know, that's exactly what these people are doing.
Uh, well, I tried to post the link to Pam's video that she did. It posted on Facebook. I don't know why YouTube will not allow me to post links anymore.
That is weird.
But just go to Pam's channel, just type in Pam Duthie. Her video is called Top Myths About Selling Copyright Art on Etsy, and her thumbnail says something like, what is it? People are stupid. It's easy to find. Look for the people are stupid. And that's exactly what the video is about. So it's an easy one to find.
Do you know, I had a different thumb that wasn't, and then somebody commented on my video about that, so I changed it to that, and my click-through rate doubled. So that was a joke, supposed to be up for an hour.
And then, all right, we're down to our last few minutes, and Adam, he was able to get our last question in, so that's awesome. Let's see. I sell exclusively in the UK because international stuff sounds scary. It's not that scary. So would the US trends be worth looking at too?
Yeah, well, I'm in the UK, if you couldn't guess. And for the longest time, eRank was only given the data for the US. That was a thing, that there just wasn't enough data for everywhere else. And you know the saying, when the US sneezes, the UK gets a cold. Like, world trends are very similar. With the advent of the internet, they've got more and more similar. But if anyone's going to be kind of similar to the US trends, it's us, basically. So yes, absolutely, the US trends are worth looking into. They give you an idea of those kind of trends, and there's far more. About just under now, I think it's slightly under half of the total of people on Etsy are in the US. So there's just so much more data there. And also, depending on what you sell, international isn't scary. When I started on Etsy, 90% of my sales were to the UK. Now about 50% of my sales are to the US, and it's really easy. Use Etsy shipping labels. We have we have them as an option. It does everything for you. It's expensive if your stuff's heavy, but people pay. If people want your stuff, they'll pay it. That's not really your problem. So.
Oh yeah, especially if you're selling things like pepper mills and things like that. You know, you can justify some premium prices if your products are really, really nice and you've got good photos. So
Yeah, and look, if you're going to sell to the US, just big it up and say made somewhere fancy in the UK.
Oh yeah, I went to the Home Good store in, you know, around here, and we've got all this whole like teapot section, and they've got little British flag stickers all over, imported from the UK. So fancy, and people eat
And I
that up.
bet they were imported from like the pound shop in the UK or something.
All right. One last question, because I think it's important to acknowledge. Carla had said thoughts on Etsy consultant YouTubers claiming that social media is killing your Etsy shop, and that things like eRank are unnecessary because you can just describe your product and be fine. I mean, really, what do you think? These are people who are taking guesses rather than using data. They are taking a guess approach rather than looking at how people actually behave. To me, it's people who are too afraid of numbers to actually dive in and learn. You know, it's similar to people saying, oh, you don't need to go to school. School's not important. You can learn everything you need to know by, you know, working on a farm or doing, sure. I mean, you might get lucky doing it that way, and maybe they did, but it doesn't mean that everybody's going to do good. Data is always going to be better than guessing. These people to me just sound like they're scared and not willing to learn something new. I don't, yeah, I,
Yeah, some people are actually good at knowing what words and phrases people use. They're very few people, but you just saw in our above example, like I would have thought pepper mills were pretty common. You know, people buy lots of kitchen stuff, but just looking for the phrase pepper mills, oh, there's lots of things people will say. I searched for that and Etsy's eRanks not showing anything. Is there something wrong? And it's like, no, it's just we're thinking like the person who creates the thing, and we're so stuck in that we don't realize what words and phrases the actual customers search for. So I mean, absolutely. I would say to anybody, right, if you're creating a new listing and you're not sure how to use eRank or whatever, put in the words that come to your head and get your listing listed. And then ask me and Starla and the rest of the eRank team or anyone else how to do things to make it better when you start making the next thing. Like, don't get bogged down. Keyword research should take you maybe half an hour when you're starting out. But like, if you Starla does tons of videos on this, I've done some as well, where we sit down and do something, and what 10-15 minutes we can come up with absolutely tons of decent keywords. It shouldn't it People make it sound like it's a big scary thing. You're just looking to see what it is that buyers are searching for.
yeah. And the whole thing about claiming that social media is killing your Etsy shop, that is not true. That would only be true if your overall shop conversion rate within your stats section had any impact on how you ranked in search. And can you think about this? Etsy has editors picks and they feature sellers in their email. Do you think that their conversion rates are good? Do you think that when people go, you know, from an Etsy email and everybody on Etsy's email list goes to check out this seller, Etsy would literally be destroying that seller if those conversion rates had an impact? It's a misunderstanding of Etsy conversion rates for singular listings in search, where the Etsy algorithm is trying to decide if the keywords that you're using are related to, you know, the item that people are looking for, basically. So if I was selling, I don't know, white Samsung watch band, for example, and somebody in search clicked on my listing, but you know, maybe it wasn't actually a watch band, or it wasn't for Samsung, it was for Apple Watch, and they clicked right off of it, that would tell Etsy, oh, that's not what they're looking for. But the whole social media, don't share your shop on social, this is just people who don't understand what they're looking at when it comes to Etsy stats. And you can't even see stats for conversion rates for individual listings, can you?
You can work them out, but you
Right.
can't. Yeah. But yeah, I have this 100, like that was Etsy Shop Camp that I was part of. I'm part of. I forgot about that. Yeah. So I got to speak to some very cool people in the Etsy teams, and I asked them that specific question. And it's not a worry. That overall conversion doesn't matter. And like Starla says, not just what's been mailed out, but what does Etsy want to do more than anything? It wants new people to come to Etsy. And if you share on social media and you bring new people in, that's new people that Etsy hasn't had to pay for, to advertise, to do any work for. Would it make any sense for them to put in their algorithms to hurt you for doing the thing that they want? So it doesn't hurt you. I think I know exactly what video you watched. I saw something with that and I thought, how am I going to make a debunking in this without calling that person out? But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just be careful who you listen to and ask them to cite their sources. That's always my big thing, is tell them if they say something that sounds weird, please cite your sources. If their sources are, well, in my Etsy shop, that's anecdotal evidence and it does not apply to the majority. Their singular experiences are not scientifically conclusive. If they cannot cite their sources, then it's just speculation. And speculation is fun. You know, we do it with celebrity gossip, but you don't build a business of longevity on speculation and rumors. You build it on what you know, things that can be proven, facts, data. So just be careful what you hear online, because we have people all the time who get bad advice from Etsy YouTubers, and they do things that cannot be fixed. They do irreparable damage to their businesses, and sometimes even get their Etsy shops shut down. Or they go and edit a listing that was performing great and they lose all rank and traffic for that listing. You know, they fall off search pages. So just like I said, be selective who you listen to. And I'm not saying you just have to listen to Pam and I.
There's loads of good people out
Yeah,
there.
Nancy Badillo, Deborah Engelmeyer, my man.
Yeah, don't look at me. I can't do it, but
Tizzit.
she's awesome.
She's from
Yeah,
Tizzit.
yeah,
Tizzit.
yeah.
She's great. There are a lot of great Etsy YouTubers out there. Just be cautious. So
Yeah, and don't keep, if you find out these people are bad, like Starla just said, she's that way. Like Starla just said, she made a really great eRank video and it does terribly because it's not clickbait. And then these people doing these videos that give bad advice because it's like, oh, here's to get 1 million sales quickly on Etsy, or don't use eRank because of this thing. That's clickbait and 1 million people watch it and that just goes sky high. So don't comment on their videos, don't like them, just step away from them and love up on Starla's video, you know, like up on the ones that are actually giving good advice.
absolutely, absolutely. Not only is it helpful to you, but it trains the YouTube algorithm, just like, you know, Etsy algorithms work. You know, the YouTube algorithm is almost the same. Etsy likes it when people positively interact with your listings and buy them and review them and interact, and YouTube's the same way. YouTube loves it when you guys comment on our videos, when you like our videos, when you share our videos with others, when you watch our videos. It helps, you know, YouTube to understand that it's good content. So that's how you guys can help us, and it's free. You know, it's free. It's a free way to be helpful and to make sure that good advice gets spread more. But guys, thanks so much for listening. Debbie, sorry we went about 10 minutes over. We appreciate you. I've got to go work on my garden today. That's going to be fun. So we will talk to you guys next week.